It's the start of the week, which means it's also V for Valkyries time. The color analyst of the Golden State Valkyries, currently sixth in the WNBA. If the season ended today, they're in the playoffs. Sophia Jones joins me. We're going to talk about the Red Hot Valkyries. We're riding a 3-game winning streak. Their record is 500. That's not what expansion teams are supposed to do. They're killing it. They're doing a great job. And oh yeah, it's the NBA offseason, which means, of course, there's a lot of rumors. There's a lot of speculation. Sophia, your screen's going crazy. Are you doing okay over there? I just saw you flip over like 90 degrees. You doing all right?
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
I don't know either. And we never know. We're live, baby. And this, once I have my open, is the For Valkyries edition of the Golden State.
They always find something to nitpick, and that's because there's expectations for us to win. Leave me alone this summer.
Let's go.
In a minute, I'ma need a sentimental man or woman to pump me up.
Oh yeah, every Monday at 3 p.m. Welcome to V for Valkyries, a special part of Golden Days that Sophia Jones right here joins me for and is a co-host with me. You can follow her on Twitter at Sophia Jones _2. You can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Instagram and Threads at Dog Wild, on Twitter at Surf Journalist, and the program is on both platforms at Golden Days Pod. Sophia, how are you doing? It's the start of the week, so hopefully we're lightening the mood for some people because Monday absolutely blows, but the Valkyries don't blow. They're kicking some ass right now. How are you doing? Good to see you.
I'm doing great. It feels weird because I feel like working in sports and just athletics in general, there's really no concept of like a Monday through Friday job.
Correct.
So
Correct.
it's either an off day or a work day. And
I feel like that's, if you work in the media, if you work in sports in general, you're right. The concept of weekdays, weekends, like I've rarely, if ever, followed the traditional 9-to-5 schedule. I get it. It's crazy. And you become a bit of a social pariah in the process because you're so abnormal in regards to normal society. Sorry to be redundant there, but it could be a challenge socially if you decide to work in this industry for that reason. Like, whereas everyone else is like, weekend warrior time, we're going to the mountains, we're going to the lakes, we're going to the beach. You're like, I'm working. Sorry. But it's the Valkyries, right? So how are the Valkyries doing? My Lord, 3-game winning streak. Summarize how they've been playing since we last did a show. They're now in the playoff hunt. They're 500. What is going on there? Why are the Valkyries kicking some ass, and what's going on this last week?
yeah, I think the Valkyries starting center, Tammy Bentley, put it best, where she said that after their game versus a Storm, who they beat, they said that the team is pretty much comprised of a bunch of 6 women. So they're used to just stepping up, having to fill roles, and just really go all out in whatever is asked of them. And that's exactly how they play. You look at the team and they just seem very together. They play the right way, and every single possession, offense and defense, is extremely hard. So I think that they've won a couple of these games, not just through their skill, but just wanting it more than the opponent. I definitely see that on the court.
The wanting it more factor. I'm not muted, am I? I'm not good. The wanting it more factor is one of the many reasons why analytics has value, but it doesn't tell the whole story. That's oftentimes what it comes down to. And we're going to talk about the NBA Finals in a little bit, but in these postseason games, I think of this because oftentimes the teams winning these very tight games against two teams that are separated by so little in terms of talent, basketball IQ, and so forth, it oftentimes comes down to who wants it most. And so what you're telling me here is that the Valkyries are basically a bunch of gritty, hardworking, nose to the ground type basketball players. And to me, when you have a team like that, and they've all bought in as a team in a sport that requires 5 people playing together, not one, it starts with coaching. And I know I've been praising and singing her praises, head coach Nikase's for ever since we started doing this. She's brilliant. I feel like the Golden State Valkyries stole a prized head coach right off the bat to start their franchise, and that's such a blessing, I think. What are you seeing from the head coach that has led to this 500 record through, I believe, 10 games in the season? Not something I think people expected from an expansion Valkyrie squad.
Yeah, and just also some extra background on Coach Nakase. She was telling us before last Saturday's game against the Las Vegas Aces that she actually turned down a couple of jobs years prior to this one because she just wanted to stay on that staff with Becky Hammond and just learn and learn more. And the Valkyries, she said that she consulted Hammond, but this was like the decision for her to step out. So she's been ready for a minute to be that head coach from what I've gathered. But no, she has a intensity about her and the way that she goes about things that I think is just the perfect example as a coach. You want your players to look up to a coach and just have that mutual respect. And I can tell she really respects and loves and cares about her players. And she gets the best out of them. I think that she comes up with really, really solid game plans that the players are also just allowed to really buy into. I think that just looking the way that the team is constructed, like Tammy Fagbenle mentioned, it's a lot of 6 women. They don't have many like previous all-stars, I guess I could say, other than maybe Tiffany Hayes. She's probably the biggest name. But even she was 6 Woman of the Year last year in the WNBA. So I think just having that buy-in mentality that the coach is really at the helm at is why we're seeing this. And they've had a pretty rough schedule so far as well. It hasn't been easy. They've not played many bottom tier teams at all.
Big time. You're absolutely right. These are not second tier teams. They're playing like you're talking about teams that are former champions. We're just in the NBA finals. Are perennial postseason berth type teams like the Aces. No, they're beating high quality teams. I don't think this is a facade. This is legit. We're going to talk a lot more about the Valkyries. We're going to talk a lot about the Warriors, obviously. For example, James Hawthorne in the chat's asking, what's the latest on Brooke Lopez to the Warriors? We'll talk about that and so much more. BC bringing up that he's glad that myself and Larry Krueger are doing shows together again. As I said before, Larry and I go back 25 years. We're not going to let a little on-air spat about basketball derail a friendship behind the scenes. At least I was never going to let that happen, and neither was Larry. So, yeah, and we'll do shows together again. I was a guest on his program. You're actually going to see a really funny short I'm going to publish in just a second because we did a hilarious bit about Rick Barry and the fact that every kid that he is a father to ends up being just this prodigious, talent in basketball. And Larry just went off on the fact that, like, Rick, if he wanted to, could make tens of millions of dollars just basically being the equivalent of like a secretariat, being like a sire, a racehorse sire. Anyways, I'm going to release that soon. But yeah, Larry and I we always were good. Again, I'm never gonna let anything regarding a basketball debate, and a lot of this is fun, even when it gets a little contentious. But yeah, no, Larry's my boy. Yeah, exactly. James A. Water under the bridge. I don't think it was never as serious as anybody thought, but we're going to talk about all that. And again, the Warriors will be at the forefront in just a second when we come back, because Jonathan Kuminga, there are some reports about where he could go if there's a sign and trade. And we're going to discuss whether that's a probability, whether that's realistic, whether that's in the best interest of the Warriors. A lot to discuss after we give some love to our sponsors. First and foremost, Decades, a cover band more specifically, that's available for you if you're looking for someone, if you're looking more specifically for live music for your event this summer. I mean, look, one of the beauties of summer is this great weather presents the opportunity to have some fun, whether it's a birthday, whether it's an anniversary, whatever the celebration is, or maybe for your business, you're hosting some kind of fundraiser, some kind of company event. You need live music. Live music is in many ways the essence of humanity. So why not bring that live music to your event and make that live music play everything from the 50s to today? So it's making everyone happy. We're talking Chuck Berry to Katy Perry, and we're talking a band that literally this is their full-time job. And so if they're making a living doing this, they're doing something right. Eddie DeBartolo, the former owner of the San Francisco 49ers, won 5 Super Bowls. leading that team. He hired Decades for his private event in Montana. They also play every San Francisco 49ers pregame party next door to Levi Stadium at Great America. Those red zone rallies are pumping. Great live music because of Decades. If you're interested in booking them for your event, email Kyle@atomicmusicgroup.com. Again, Kyle@atomicmusicgroup.com, or go to decadesofficial.com. Again, the website decadesofficial.com. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram at Decades Official. Book them, support our program, support the band, and thank us later, because you're not going to regret that. Today's episode also brought to you by BetOnline, the world's most trusted betting platform. And this gives me an opportunity to open up their website and see what the line is for Game 5 tonight. This is between the OKC Thunder, the Indiana Pacers. I personally thought the Pacers blew an opportunity to seize this series. And maybe that fourth quarter in Game 4 was a symbol of OKC's greatness. Maybe that is why Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is quite possibly the new face of the NBA. They outscored the Pacers 31-17 in that fourth quarter. They evened the series 2 apiece. I'm going to ask you, Sophia, to guess the line, courtesy of BetOnline, proud sponsor of Golden Days. Who do you think is favored in tonight's game, and by how much?
I honestly might go with OKC by 8.
You know your stuff. You know what's up. That was brilliant, Sophia. The actual line is OKC -9. You were only off by 1. No, that was good. That was very good. And if you want to bet on the series right now, and I think if you're going to bet on the series and you feel strongly about the Pacers, the money line for the Pacers is plus 324 for tonight's game. The money line for the Pacers to come back and win the series, even though they're not really coming back. It's tied 2-2, but you get what I'm saying. It's plus 377. The odds are there. If you believe in the Pacers to win this series, go bet on it. And if you're going to bet, make sure you use BetOnline. Again, the world's most trusted betting platform. The game starts here. Speaking of the NBA Finals, let's touch on that really quickly while that subject is up. This is some high-quality basketball. These are two damn good teams. I think it's safe to say that these are 2 of the 3 best teams in the NBA. I still say with confidence that if the Warriors had played the Thunder in the Western Conference Finals, the Warriors would be in this position right now, and Stephen Curry would be playing for his 5th championship. It's how big of a anyways, an opportunity missed. I'm not going to go down that road, but my point is this has been great basketball. These are 2 exceptional teams. What has been from your perspective some highlights that you've seen watching these 2 teams play?
Yeah, just it's very refreshing to see that competitiveness, and both teams are kind of just very gritty and high energy. It's not a ton of it's a little bit ISO ball on some plays, but like I mean, you can really tell that they're units. That's not necessarily just only one person. I think even for OKC, SGA doesn't do it by himself, and there have been a couple times these playoffs that he's had off games, but his teammates have helped carry him. So yeah, it's fun to see kind of the shift also into the non-super teams, but instead just really gutsy players.
Right. Although the OKC Thunder, I think, are quickly turning into a super team. It's just an organic super team where they develop all their players themselves, similar to the Warriors. Mike Weisberg in the chat saying that I'm delusional if I think the Warriors stood a shot against OKC. And all I will say in response to that is it is not delusional when you consider what they did in the regular season. The Warriors won that season series, and the one game they lost to OKC, Stephen Curry didn't play, and they still barely lost. We will strongly agree to disagree on that front, given, again, the Warriors actually won the regular season matchup, given the Warriors looked like the better team in those matchups, given the fact that OKC's system is basically a replication of what the Warriors have been doing for 10 plus years. I agree to disagree. I think the Warriors would have had a very strong shot to win if they had gotten to that point, but they would have needed Steph. They would have needed health. And speaking of the Warriors, one player that I don't know if he's linked to them accurately. I have no idea even why Bobby Portis is linked to the Warriors, but he is. And I want to start the show, or at least the Warriors part of the show, by talking about by playing this clip. I'm sorry. This is Bobby Portis, and he was on FanDuel's NBA show hosted by Michelle Beadle. I forgot the name of the show. I apologize, but he was asked about these rumors, and I thought his answer was funny, not insightful in terms of whether he's going to go to the Warriors or not, but I think it was fascinating in terms of the player perspective and all the madness and all the speculation regarding the NBA offseason, which has not even started yet. We already have that Desmond Bane trade. We'll talk about that in just a second. But here is Bobby Portis. He was asked, excuse me, about the reports that the Warriors are interested in him. Side note, I'll explain why that's nearly impossible for that to be a reality outside of a sign and trade. But even that, I don't think is going to happen. Given the Bucks don't have the assets to offer for a Jonathan Kuminga. Nonetheless, there are some people out there faking it by saying that Bobby Portis is linked to the Warriors. And here's what Portis had to say about that.
You could make it all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals, get eliminated, and then just fire your coach a couple days later, just like New York did.
Like,
dude, what do you think about this?
That.
Can we talk about the fact that they've asked to talk to 30 different dudes and they all said no, and now they're finally going to talk to 2 guys without jobs? Like, what have you made of all that?
And if you're the 2 guys without jobs now,
Yeah,
are you
even,
about time?
I mean,
Now that you already asked these other married men.
Yeah, you're
hello.
the 9th choice.
Yeah.
Man, I'm gonna tell you like this, man. Sometimes, man, when you break up with your girlfriend, man, sometimes, you might go over there and find you something else. But, you might want to come back to that girlfriend, man. So if I'm the Knicks, man, I'll just call Tills back and say, I'm sorry, man.
Act like it didn't
You know
happen.
what I'm saying?
Wait, is this the right clip? Did I screw
Get
this
himself
up?
nice.
Is this him talking about the coaching search? Hold on a
Yeah.
second. That's the wrong clip. I apologize for that. I literally did play the wrong clip. Hold on one second. I will get the right one. My apologies. We're not doing a show about the New York Knicks coaching search. No offense to the Knicks, but that's not the topic that we care about here. I do have the right clip, though. Just give me 1 second here. Here it is. I sincerely thank everyone for their patience while I had to find this. I found it. Now here's the right clip. This was Bobby Portis talking about being linked to the Golden State Warriors and just being mentioned in all these crazy trades. Here was Bobby Portis. We're trying this again, round 2.
You got about 2 weeks to make a decision on your player option. How much does him stay weighs in on the decision that you're going to make? What are the important factors on you making a decision in the near future?
If he goes, there might be some more bread available.
Yeah.
Bum, bum, bum.
I mean, man, for
I'm
real,
gonna skip ahead
just
because
with
we
me,
don't care
man.
about that. It's crazy.
I'm like, hey,
Gotta do
Goes
that.
quick.
man, trust me, I know, man. Like, you look up, man, 2015, I was talking to my mom the other day. Got drafted in 2015. And then it's 2025 now, 10 years later, the draft is on the same day that my draft was on, the 25th. I'm like, hey,
That's fast.
10 years fly by fast. Now I was just hugging Adam Silver on the podium, man. Like, man, appreciate you. like, you know what I'm saying? Now 10 years later, you turn 30, you like, man, you look at it a whole lot different, man. So
For sure.
definitely, I cherish these moments. I cherish playing in the league, and I definitely want to maximize my contract coming up.
How do you handle, there are rumors out there, for example, that Golden State might be interested. And you obviously played for Kerr back in the day, 2023, Team USA. How do you handle that? Like, do you think to yourself, you know what, I would like that. I would actually like to play in the Warriors organization.
Yeah, my first thought when it comes to these reports is how do these people know so much? Like, you know what I'm saying? How did it get reported so? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? How do these people know these things so
Leaks.
fast? Like that'd be my first mindset. Be like, how does who's telling all this? Like, who's behind the scenes and who's calling and checking in and all this?
Your agent. They trying to drive the money. Leveraging.
That's way beyond me. How it happens, guys. I don't know, if there's somebody on each team that calls and tells people things. I don't know, but I don't know, Shams and all these guys, man, that kind of report these things that's happening. I don't know if I would want that job, man. I would want to stay up all night, stand by my phone. You know what I'm saying? Gotta check in with guys at 3 a.m. You know what I'm saying? That's a tough one to have, man.
But by the way, that's the beauty of free agency is you can take that time to think about how your game would be with a Steph Curry or how you know what I mean? So that is natural and normal to feel that way, especially when you're a free agent.
I love the fact that he completely avoided the question altogether and just spun it into like, how do these people know this stuff? Gave no answer there whatsoever, other than just highlighting the madness of the offseason. Here's what the Bobby Portis part of it. Here's what I can tell you in terms of objective knowledge. He, for some reason, NBC Sports Bay Area, and I've called them out on this twice now on Twitter, they keep reporting in the story that Portis's player option is for $3.8 million this year. He's turning that down to be a free agent. His player option is actually $13.4 million. And that's a huge difference. And that's also a huge reason why the Warriors have virtually no chance of signing him, because they're over the cap already. They can't sign free agents. They will have one of the two mid-level exceptions to use. And in that scenario, maybe you can sign Portis, but then Kuminga's out. Like, then you don't have Kuminga, and you're not signing a 30-year-old Bobby Portis and letting Kuminga just walk for nothing. So the reality of Bobby Portis coming to the Warriors, very slim. My guess is he's going to stay with the Bucks, given it seems likely that Giannis Antetokounmpo is also going to stay with the Bucks. All the leaks that were discussed in that show come from the agents. That's where Shams gets his information. The agents, they talk a lot. It's the job of the reporter to discern from that what is valuable, what is propaganda, right? Like, what is spin, and that's where a journalist steps in and has to discern what is fake from truth. But it is madness, and you've been around the NBA your entire life, Sophia. What is your take on the offseason? It's evolved a lot from what it used to be. But do you see all the reports? Do you read these daily, like, potential trades? Or do you just sit back and watch the madness and wait for reality to kick in? What are your thoughts?
I kind of only pay attention to some of the reports that are more relevant to, like, the teams or players that I am interested in. Yeah, especially this time of year, I'm more so like WNBA. But before working with the league, I used to be very locked into what was happening in the NBA during the offseason. Like, I saw, like, Desmond Bane, he got traded the other day, so that was kind of shocking. I wasn't expecting that. But then that's also makes me think, what's going on in Memphis? Are they potentially planning to blow up everything? But yep.
Did you see the Shams report? I think it was either
No.
today or yesterday that because that was the big question. And this is a good point to talk about that trade as well. But Shams reported that the Desmond Bane trade to the Orlando Magic was not step one of a rebuild. They're committed to Ja Morant. He did not say as such about Jaren Jackson, but something tells me if you're going to keep Ja, you're likely going to keep Jaren Jackson Jr. as well, which may poo-poo dreams of Warriors fans wanting Jaren Jackson Jr. in a Warriors uniform. Highly improbable. I could be wrong. I mean, I think hardly anyone knows the truth here, but if what Shams reported is true, then Memphis is not rebuilding, and this was a move primarily to get assets. So sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good. I didn't know that. I didn't want to keep rambling and be uninformed. No, I mean, it would have been a good possibility, but I guess not. But yeah, just to kind of circle back and answer your question, I feel like there's so much misdirection as well. One player I can think of that I'm like certainly, or yeah, I guess that I'm keeping my eyes on now would be Kevin Durant, because he has trade rumors that are circulating a lot. That's an interesting one. But yeah, I don't pay attention to everything, but I would like to see some off-season movement. I feel like it's been very slow.
Well, and I think part of the reason why it's been slow is because we're still in the NBA Finals, right? Like the season hasn't even ended yet. And again, we already got that Desmond Bane trade. Now is a good time to quickly touch on that before we circle back to the Warriors. The Grizzlies trade Bane, a sharpshooter. He's also a very strong dude. I mean, Warriors fans, I think, are very familiar with Desmond Bane's game, given the postseason battles the two teams have engaged in. Tough guy, gritty. His three-point shooting, I think, is where the most value comes from in Bane's game. And most people seem to be focused on the Grizzlies. I want to flip this around and present this take from the Magic's perspective. Teams like Orlando, who play in small markets like that. And this is a sad reality of even the Golden State Warriors. They play in a big market, but realistically, if you're not top 2 in Miami, you don't have an advantage in terms of your location. Like it's LA, New York, Miami. They can get players to come there just because of weather, the massive demographics in terms of population size, which in turn leads to massively large endorsement deals. I know Texas has some appeal, and so does Florida in terms of tax breaks. But in terms of geography, those are your 3 cities. Am I missing any for free agency that you think are like destination places? Even the Knicks are a stretch.
Maybe
but
you could throw Brooklyn in there.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it's basically also New York City.
And you're absolutely right. And BC adds that it's not the weather, it's the quality of fans. Maybe that's the case, although New York fans will let the players know. And again, I don't know, are the Clippers in the mix as well then, if we're going to include the Nets? Maybe they are. They might be. I guess you could throw them in there too.
And if we're using the scale of quality of fans and maybe just kind of like resources and facilities, the Clippers into its own like state of the art.
Absolutely. Have you been there? Have you actually watched the game there? I know.
No.
I do want to check that place out. It does look like it's like an awesome arena. Nonetheless, so the Orlando Magic, like a lot of NBA teams, and sadly the Warriors are included in this. This is why I always cringe when the Warriors just swing and miss on an opportunity to bring in talent, because it's not easy. Like if you're not drafting well, if you're not discovering and finding players organically through your own research of recruitment and studying players overseas and the college game, even going down to scouting high school players, it's hard to get free agents to come to your team unless you have a really good team that's a player or 2 away. Players love winning, and they love damn good weather, and they love high population zones because you can make much more money. There's more opportunities there. So the Warriors, unfortunately, are not a top-tier free agent destination, and the Orlando Magic are certainly not a free agent destination. The Orlando Magic are also in a position where they have some good team. They have some good players, I'm sorry. Paolo Banchero is awesome. That guy is going to be a face of the NBA for years to come. People bring up Franz Wagner, and he's a good player. They've got pieces there. Jalen Suggs is emerging as a solid point guard who's exceptional defensively. The Orlando definitely missed him in the postseason. It's hard to, when you're at that level where you're a winning team, you're a playoff team, but you also have a hard time, finding high quality free agents to bring in. You see a player like Desmond Bane and he becomes available, you're going to give up whatever it takes to get someone like that when you're this close, especially considering the 4 first-round picks that they traded back to Memphis. Most of those will likely be high first-round picks because Orlando is going to be good for years to come. That's an important thing to factor into this. The Warriors did not care about their draft picks during the dynasty because you're in a win-now mode, right? So Orlando is in a win-now mode. They're a small market that struggles to recruit prized free agents, superstar free agents. They saw an opportunity to get a guy that fills a desperate need for him. They needed shooting. He is a solid 2 guard. Is he worth 4 picks and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Cole Anthony? I would say no under normal circumstances if you're in a vacuum making a trade between 2 teams. But when you factor that Orlando is this close in a very weak Eastern Conference, when you factor that they can't just find free agents to sign just by itself, this was a move for them to take that next step, and they didn't care about draft picks. That's what I saw in this. And on Memphis's perspective, Desmond Bane is good, but you just had him, and you couldn't even make the playoffs. You were a play-in team. Or did they make the play? I think they were the 8 seed, but you couldn't get out of the first round. So what is the point of holding on to this guy when you could get 4 first-round picks and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Cole Anthony? You could probably flip some of those to get even more assets. I see the rationale on both sides, and that's my take on why both teams did that. Any thoughts from you?
Yeah, I'm definitely agree with you. And I think Orlando is one of those teams where they having like a Desmond Bane a little bit more, I won't say he's quite a vet, but he's been around the league for a little bit. have that experience. He's a very, very, very solid player. I think that the Magic definitely got better, and especially with the Eastern Conference just not being as stacked as the West, they could go on a playoff run next year.
Do the East next year, when you factor in that Boston could be a lottery team, they could. When you factor that Cleveland, who was, I mean, they're going to come back. I think they're going to be good next year, but they're clearly flawed. The Pacers are a team that I think a lot of people, even despite making the NBA Finals, are still very skeptical of. My point is the Eastern Conference next year, as of right now, is wide open. You are lucky if you're in the East. I think that's a huge reason why the Bucks are backtracking on trading Giannis. They see an incredibly weak landscape in the Eastern Conference. It is ripe for the taking for almost anybody currently. And that's the East. If the Warriors were in the East, you'd see like the type of results that LeBron had, where he made 10 straight NBA Finals. But the Warriors were in the West, and as LeBron has learned as well, coming to the Lakers, it's a whole different world when you're in the West versus the East. It's insane. I think that's also a huge reason people aren't bringing this up, Sophia, and I don't know if you agree with me on this or not, but they made a change to the All-Star game for next year, where it's going to be, I think, America versus the world. And part of the reason I think they did that, maybe I'm wrong on this. This is just me spitballing here. Is because the Eastern Conference might not even have enough All-Stars next year. Like if it was an East versus West showdown next season, I know they haven't done that in a little while. It's been like captains and stuff like that. But like usually the captains are picking from East versus West. I don't even know if the East next year is going to have enough players to form an All-Star team. It's atrocious. That conference is so bad. I don't know the why of it, other than just players seem to want to, and individuals in general just love migrating west. But it's crazy to me. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, if any? Because maybe I'm just rambling about something that no one cares about.
No, kind of growing up in Miami during that era where the Heatles went to the finals like so many years back to back. And I think it was the Heat, and then we would play the Pacers with Paul George. It felt like every single year in the conference finals. So there hasn't been as much parity in the East as there is in the West in a long time, in my opinion. Which is another reason why it's interesting that more free agents don't want to go to some of those Eastern Conference teams. I mean, you talk about Miami, New York, maybe Brooklyn being destinations, but not a ton else, really. Maybe like Philadelphia can be in that conversation, but it's just so interesting that that's the way that it's structured. It's really weird because I'm in complete agreement with you, because I think about the Western Conference and how the playoff slate was this year, and then I look at the teams that didn't make the playoffs, like Dallas and San Antonio, that are probably gonna be better next year, and it's like, what are the Warriors going to do? Who's actually going to make the playoffs as opposed to the East? It's kind of, it's just you have to be above average.
Yeah, it's crazy, but that divide is very real. And again, if they ever decide to add 2 expansion teams, I think the league is ripe for 4. Realistically, though, it's probably going to be 2 expansion teams, and you're gonna see some sort of restructuring. Like, I don't know if they're going to move a New Orleans east. I don't know if somebody's going to go east. I don't know who it's going to be. If it's maybe it's Minnesota. Somebody's going to go over there, and whoever it is, congratulations. You just immediately became a playoff team, or at least a playoff contender. So it is crazy. Now, Michael Scotto, he writes for Hoop Hypes, which is a really fun website to go to, especially this time of year. It's chock full of rumors. They are basically letting the public know what's going on with every prospective free agent and team that may be on the move. And I bring that up because Jonathan Kuminga was linked in terms of a sign and trade to 2 teams. And we're going to look at those 2 teams in just a second. Before we look at those teams, though, I want to add this report from Scotto as well. And this is important. He reported that his sources said, and take that for what it's worth, that wherever Kuminga goes next year, he wants a consistent role and he wants a larger role. And I don't think that's, it's not a big deal. I think that's a valid thing for any player in his position to ask for. So who knows what the conversations are behind the scenes with the Warriors? Again, this is the fascinating part that very few people know. And that's the dichotomy of ownership and Kerr, right? Like, how often are they communicating? Like I have no clue how often Mike Dunleavy Jr. and or Lacob and Steve Kerr talk. Is it weekly? Is it monthly? I don't think it's daily. I know they cross paths routinely in the building, but my point is, if you're going to keep Kuminga, that conversation has to happen with Steve Kerr, right? Like, it has to. And they're going to have a conversation where the front office basically goes to Kerr and says, can you promise this young man that he's going to be a permanent, consistent part of the rotation? And if Steve Kerr says yes, then the door's open. I think Kuminga can stay, and we could have a happy, fruitful present and future with this young man on the Warriors. If Steve Kerr says, I don't know, or if he gives some sort of answer where it's a non-committal answer, yeah, you probably are going to have to sign and trade him if Steve Kerr is not going anywhere. So that's where the Warriors, I think, are. And then you have the Kuminga piece of this where it's like, what does he want, right? And that plays a huge part in this as well. He's a free agent, a restricted free agent, but he has a lot of freedom right now to decide where he wants to go next. Indications are he wants to stay with the Warriors. He's liked his time here. He likes his teammates. He just wants commitment, and I don't think that's asking for too much. But Michael Scotto reported that there are 2 teams linked to the Warriors in regards to a potential sign and trade for Kuminga. And those are the teams I want to look at. The first team are your Miami Heat, who I could see Kuminga playing for him. Kuminga has a strong connection to South Florida, right? He spends his summers there routinely training. I think he lives there in the summer as well. And Sophia, I asked you in our pre-show meeting to look at the rosters of these teams, and I'm looking at them with you because if you're going to sign and trade Jonathan Kuminga from the Warriors' perspective, you have to get 2 things back, and 2 things in one individual potentially, right? And those 2 things are world championship contention, right? Like, you're still in this to win a title. Del Curry was just interviewed either today or yesterday and said his son still wants to win championships. His son, in case you've been living in the cave for the last 15 years, is Stephen Curry. And he mentioned that Steph still has that drive. I think the team still has aspirations to win one more for Steph. And this core, that's the goal. So if you're going to trade Kuminga, one of the 2 variables I think is a strong focus here for the Warriors is whoever we get back, can that person make a difference in us winning a championship? Is that fair? Do you think that's accurate? And any thoughts you want to add to that?
No, I think that's exactly kind of the requirements that need to be met.
And you're correct. And there's 2 requirements, though. I think that's one of them. The second one is this player going to carry us in the future? There is going to come a day much sooner than later where Stephen Curry is done. He retires. This is a part of life. It's not a cool part of it. Everything comes to an end, unfortunately. And Stephen Curry is going to retire at some point. He turns 38 next year. LeBron James so far is the only player in NBA history, at least to my recollection, who has sustained greatness this long, right? I mean, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was playing into his 40s, but he was also a lumbering big who had the sky hook, and you know, his career in the later stages was mostly play defense and just drop the sky hook when Magic feeds the ball and just do your best to run back and forth with a very fast team. LeBron James has carried his teams even up to this point. I know Luke is on his team now, but still, let's not pretend the gravitas of LeBron James. It's a rare thing, right? But that's the plan for the Warriors. They want to win a championship now, but Stephen Curry's realistically turning 38. Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green realistically turned 36. And in case you haven't noticed, when Stephen Curry gets injured, when Stephen Curry is not playing, the Warriors suddenly become very irrelevant. The Warriors suddenly become an afterthought. And that has to be a part of the thinking, and it is for the front office, thankfully, when you're making these decisions. Who's going to be the next phase? Who's going to be the face of this team when Steph and Dre and Steve Kerr hang it up? And like the front office, and justifiably so, does not want to enter a next phase where they resemble the Warriors of 40 years straight from the late 70s until the Joe Lacob era. They don't want to go back to that, obviously. And that is what you're looking at if you don't put some sort of investment into the future as much as the present. And that's a huge reason why Jonathan Kuminga has the value he does. He's very young. He has star potential. Hell, he has superstar potential. But at a bare minimum, he keeps you relevant if Stephen Curry gets hurt, which is more and more of a possibility with each day that passes. So those are the two criteria, I think, for what you have to get back if you sign and trade Jonathan Kuminga. You need a player who can help you win now, and you need a player who's young and can be a part of this in the future. Anything you want to add in terms of the criteria that you think is on the list of the Warriors in terms of what they're looking for in any sign and trade?
I think that kind of about covers it, honestly. I think just the first part of what you said, someone that will actually help the Warriors win a championship.
And that's a huge reason why it's hard to let go of Kuminga, right? Like, he knows the system. His teammates love him. I've never once heard anything otherwise. Like, he's clearly like a quiet dude, so he's not someone who is a chatty, extroverted type individual, but he's incredibly hardworking. He does everything his team asks him to. His teammates get along with him. I don't think even Steve Kerr has any bad feelings toward him. He just had his weird, feelings about fit and whatnot, and that's something that he now has to work out this summer. Nonetheless, that's why Kuminga is a hard piece to give up in any potential scenario, and it's why I think ultimately he's going to stay. Now, with all that said, and with all the criteria laid out in terms of what the Warriors are looking for in any potential trade, you look at the Miami Heat's roster. Is there anything on there that you look at and think to yourself, I'd be cool with that? And put yourself in Lacob's shoes, put yourself in Dunleavy Jr.'s shoes. Like, is a trade with Miami to you realistic? And if yes, who are the pieces you're looking at on that roster?
With the criteria that we mentioned, I think the person just at the top would be Bam Adebayo, of course. I think I've been saying that for a cool minute, where I think just his size and his two-way play would be huge for the Warriors, and he's 100% someone that could help them win another championship. And he's also someone that he's 28, so he's not super young. He's still young. So he could kind of, be on the team years to come, especially as a post or a forward. There's not as much movement, I guess, and pounding. So yeah, but honestly, he's probably the only one I would say. I think maybe he's the only one. I find Kel'el Ware a little bit interesting, just again with his size, but I don't know if he would necessarily come and make a huge impact. But he's very young, so he could be someone that is developed as well. But yeah, I think it would have to be Bam Adebayo off of the Heat. And it also kind of does intrigue me if potentially Kevin Durant does want to go to Miami. There could be some type of 3-team trade that's also arranged between Miami, Warriors, and the Suns. Not sure, but that could be potentially in the works. But yeah, I think I would like to see Bam in a Golden State jersey. And I'm also a huge fan of Asia Wilson, so I would love to start that agenda so that Asia
Are they dating?
They are, yeah. And so I would love to start that agenda so we can see Asia in a Valkyries jersey next year.
I love it. I like that. Slip it in agendas. That's you're maturing and gaining experience, turning into a veteran right before our eyes. I love it, Sophia. Great call on that. And I agree with you. And here's the crazy part. I don't think Bam Adebayo is untouchable. I really don't. Like, if you're having conversations with the Miami Heat and you're looking at a real possibility of sending Jonathan Kuminga to them, I'm with you. Bam Adebayo is on the table. Give me Bam. We got a deal. I mean, like maybe throw in one or two other things in there. Like the Warriors have the leverage in this scenario, because the reality for Miami is the Heat with Bam Adebayo are a 7 seed, an 8 seed. That's what they are. The Miami Heat with Jonathan Kuminga, you have no clue. and he could turn into a superstar. Side note, it's a huge reason why I also don't think the Warriors are giving him up, because they are deathly afraid of trading him away only to see him turn into a superstar. You don't want that regret hanging over your franchise for decades, which is what would happen. But yeah, I'm with you. Bam Adebayo, I think, has to be a part of that conversation. What if they come back and say, would you take Tyler Hero? Would you consider that?
No. No.
And would you agree with Mike Weisberg that Bam is 100% untouchable? Ask anyone in Miami. You would know.
Yeah, I should call up my dad right now. He's probably napping or something, though. But
Don't interrupt his vacation, though. I think he's on vacay, right?
I just got back. They had a wonderful
Oh,
time. Yeah,
reach
they had a good
out.
time
Yeah.
in Senegal and Morocco. But honestly, the reason why I don't think that Bam is untouchable is because I think while I believe he's the best player on that Heat roster, Tyler Hero takes the majority of their shots and is the most ball dominant. And that is how do I say? That's just the reason why it makes me think that he's not untouchable, because they haven't really used him as their number one guy yet. Tyler Hero has kind of been that number one guy.
And that's not Bam's game, right? He's not a guy that carries you offensively. Defensively, whole other picture, right? And I mean, he's as elite as they get on that side of the equation. And picturing him with Steph, we already saw how he works out with Jimmy Butler. Yeah, sign me up. That's something I would strongly consider. How old is Bam Adebayo, by the way?
He's
curious.
28.
I'm gonna look that up real fast because I have no freaking clue. Bam Adebayo he's only 27. Yeah, sign me up. All in. Like, no hesitation. If what you're getting back is Bam Adebayo, he turns 28 next month. Okay, so he's 28. Still, that's young enough for me, man. Sign me up. I'm all in. If it's Bam Adebayo, great. I'm with you on the Tyler Hero part as well. I wouldn't do it if it's Hero. I think Hero is, I'm not diminishing his value, but it's just fit-wise, I think he could do better. What are your thoughts on Kel'el Ware? Because his name is coming up a lot. There are multiple reports that Kevin Durant likes Miami, and he sees that as one of the organizations that is potentially a good fit for him. And the Suns reportedly want Kel'el Ware back if that trade happens. The Miami Heat are reportedly reluctant, though, to include Ware. You're probably going to have to. What do you have an opinion on Ware? I haven't seen him enough to really have lean either way about his game. I've heard great things, but I don't know much myself.
Yeah, really tall, lanky player. He's someone that I would say that has potential. He's not really dominant yet, but I could see him developing into that. Again, just young player, a lot of size, a lot of upside. So I could see maybe why Miami is reluctant to give him up, just because of what the future could potentially bring.
Absolutely. Now, another team that Michael Scotto, getting a lot of mentions on the show today, props, it mentioned in his story in terms of potential teams that the Warriors could conduct a sign and trade with. The other team that he mentioned two of them. One was the Miami Heat. The other one I think is considerably more intriguing, and that is the Chicago Bulls. Now, I was on Larry Kruger's show the other day, and he brought up Kobe White's name, and that's a name that I've seen in a few reports. I personally don't think Kobe White by himself is enough. And look, again, the Eastern Conference is awful. So before you go ahead and place value on a player like Kobe White, who's going to turn 26 next year, keep in mind that he was one of the main players on a team that was a 9 seed in the East. Like that, you have to keep that in mind. Like if a player is really good in terms of impacting winning, they're going to be winning in the Eastern Conference. And so that is a ding on Kobe White. With that said, if the package was something like Kobe White, I don't know what my feelings are exactly on Josh Giddey. I imagine, look, that's someone that Steve Kerr loves. That's what I had sources telling me that back in the 2021 draft, Josh Giddey was the target. And that's largely because that's who Steve Kerr wanted. But OKC took him at number 6. And Jonathan Kuminga fell all the way to 7. And so the Warriors at that point, Draymond Green loved him. Jared Jack, his former teammate, loved Jonathan Kuminga. And so they started pushing Bob Myers to draft him, and he did. And me personally, I don't think it was a poor choice either. Give him a shot, kid can play. With all that said, when you go back to the Bulls, like realistically, if we're looking at options on that Bulls roster, yeah, Kobe White would be a part of that, but he can't be the only one. Like, I think if you're going to do a sign and trade with the Bulls, it would have to include not just White, but Josh Giddey has to be a part of that. And even that doesn't excite me that much. And you're going to probably have to bring back Vucevic as well. In the present, if you do a trade like that, your team's going to be damn good. I don't know if they're championship good, but they're damn good. You're also kind of setting up for the future with Josh Giddey. Again, that's if you like Giddey. I'm not big on him. Some people love him. And another player on their team is Lonzo Ball as well. I know some people actually are high on him. The Bulls have prospects. Your thoughts?
Yeah, they have prospects, but it would definitely have to be more of kind of like a mix and match situation compared to Miami. Kobe White would be interesting. He's a younger player as well. I think we've talked a lot about Vucevic, who, again, is that size, but he's not young. He's more of a veteran. So if you get him, it would definitely be a win now move. The Josh Giddey, I can see why Steve Kerr likes him because he's a playmaker. I just would find it difficult to picture him on the Warriors because he can't really shoot. And
Bruce Morrow,
yeah.
bravo. Sorry, go ahead.
And that too.
That too.
Yeah, I think that when thinking of like the majority of the guards that Steve Kerr has used, they've been kind of really more able to shoot, run all over the floor, handle the ball really well. But he does give good backcourt size. Lonzo is someone I would be also very interested to see what that could do. But with him, it's also a matter of if he can stay healthy.
And that too. And then there's the wild card in this, and this is the team that Michael Scotto did not bring up. And side note for the people in the chat saying the dollars don't work in these hypotheticals. Again, we don't know what Kuminga is going to make in a potential sign and trade. You could also include other pieces in this. It wouldn't just be Kuminga. You're also probably including either a Moses Moody, Buddy Hield to make these multiple pieces work going both ways. But with all that said, so that's who the Bulls pretty much have to offer. And then the wild card is Brooklyn. They're the only team who has the salary cap space to basically make life hell for the Golden State Warriors. And what I mean by that is if the Brooklyn Nets offer Kuminga, let's say a max deal or a deal that's $35 million for 4 years. So what is that? 140, right? I hope my math's right. The Warriors are screwed because now, look, you have his rights, but if you match an offer where he's making that much from Brooklyn, you can't add anyone else. You're done. Your offseason is a wrap. Like you can do veteran minimums, I think, but to round out your roster, but you're in a very bad place. And I think this is a huge reason why the Warriors are in heavy talks with Kuminga's representatives because they don't want it to get to that point where they're priced out or they're forced to match a deal that's going to put them in salary cap hell. Stephen Curry has also said that the one thing he's asking for this offseason from the Warriors is whatever is set up in terms of this roster for next season. He doesn't want drama. He wants to go into next season with no distractions. And I think that's a huge reason why the people with the idea of sign Kuminga and then 6 months from now you can think about trading him. I don't think that's an option either because that would push back entirely against this team's goal next year of going for it all. You don't want distractions. You don't want like mid-season upheaval. I think whatever they're going to decide on this offseason, they're going all in. This is the plan. This is the team. We don't want to shake things up. We want an 82-game plan. Now, with all that said, do the Brooklyn Nets have anyone on their roster that looks appealing to you? Because nobody on that team excites me. Not one. Does anyone excite you?
Maybe a little bit of Nick Claxton and Cam Johnson, but
Exactly.
I don't, yeah.
Exactly. No, I'm with you. I'm 100% with you. And this is so. And again, the more you study this and analyze it, the more you come to the realization that the Warriors are very likely going to keep Kuminga. And again, this is where I'm personally intrigued by what's going on behind the scenes that none of us know about. Side note, I do want to answer real fast. I'm never intentionally ignoring anyone in the chat. So please forgive me if I do accidentally miss your message, but someone in the chat, and here it is. James Hawthorne asked, don't forget about Brooke Lopez. I would touch on that some more if I had more information. Do you have information on that, Sophia? I don't think there's any update on that right now in terms of the Warriors' interest, in terms of how much money he's going to command next year. I don't know. I wish I did have information, but right now I have nothing to tell you about Brooke Lopez. I would like it. I would pretty much actually love it. But yeah, I have no information. How about you? Any thoughts on Brooke Lopez?
I'm the same with you. I would like having him on the team, but I just don't have any information.
He would be a borderline perfect fit. And if you're going for if you're in a situation where you bring Kuminga back and your budget's really limited, and dude, Brooke Lopez would be, I think, perfect. Like, again, my wish list this offseason, and let me know what you think about this as we start wrapping it up here. My wish list, and I think the Warriors are in a great position if they do this. You re-sign Kuminga and you make the commitment to him. Make him a major part of this team. And again, this would involve some sort of adaptability from Kerr, if you will. It's going to require a lot, but this is my wish list. You bring back Kuminga. Brooke Lopez is signed as a free agent. You bring back DeAnthony Melton on a cheap deal and give him a verbal promise that he's going to get a much bigger deal the following season. And then you fill out the roster with veteran deals. I think if you construct your team like that, where you have what you currently have, bring Kuminga back and expand his role, because you're going to need his young legs for an 82-game season. You add Brooke Lopez, who spaces the floor. He can also mentor Quentin Post a little more, as well as his backup center. DeAnthony Melton showed last year he can fit. He's also a liability in terms of durability. Like, he has not proven he can stay on a basketball court, which is why he might be affordable. But I think if you do that, I think you're set. I'd be happy personally. What about you?
Same, 100%. And I mean, I think if you just take the Warriors team for what they were this year, and they were one Steph Curry injury away from potentially making the finals and then winning that, adding just like that key piece of re-signing Jonathan Kuminga, probably having some type of chat with him about working out and discussing his role, and then you're adding a piece like a Brooke Lopez and potentially DeAnthony Melton. I think that's a very solid team.
No Cap 757's adding that if they re-sign Kuminga, they can't sign anyone else. Barbie Mark said it. I think the context that Mark said it, though, is in Kuminga signing a deal for $35 million. You're right. And I think this is why the conversations between both sides are a little difficult, because the Warriors are in a position where they have to convince Kuminga to accept a deal in the $20 to $25 million range this year. But then you make him promises, right? That maybe you follow that up with year 2 and year 3, pay him the max to try to even things out. Maybe give him a player option after year 2, so that it gives him the freedom to opt out and then get a max deal at that point. No Cap, you're right. If Kuminga is getting the max amount, the Warriors are screwed. If you can convince him to take a deal in the 20 to 25 million range, now you could use one of your mid-level exceptions, most likely the second one, which is worth 5.6 million, and you use that money to get a Brooke Lopez. That's the ideal scenario, but idealism in the NBA is a hard thing to match up with reality. So hope that makes sense, and hope that provided some context. Any final questions, Sophia, from your perspective?
No final questions.
Muhammad Olivi is in love. I've seen him mention this name before. Duop Reef, who's on the Portland Trailblazers currently. Dude, advocate away, man. I've no pushback on Duop Reef. I know you think he's better. He's a better option than Trace Jackson-Davis. You've gotten your Duop Reef mention. Congratulations. What's up next for the Golden State Valkyries as we wrap it up? They're on a 3-game winning streak. They have a 500 record. What's this upcoming schedule looking like for them? And 2-part question, Sophia, if you don't mind, as we wrap it up here, what do you see for this team big picture this year? Like, can they actually make the playoffs and make noise? Like, is that even what they want to do, or are they going to try to pull like a Brooklyn Nets and try to tank to the second half of the season so that they don't make the playoffs and get a high draft pick? What do you foresee for this team this year? Because they're playing some damn good basketball.
Yeah, to answer your first question, we have the Dallas Wings tomorrow. The Dallas Wings have the worst record in the league, so it's a very winnable game. And then we have the Indiana Fever, so we'll be hosting Caitlin Clark and her team for the first time on Thursday, so Juneteenth. And then that's, I think, in my opinion, a very winnable game. And then we have the Connecticut Sun, who's another team. I can't remember where they are in the standings, but bottom 3. So a couple of very winnable games for the Valkyries coming up. It's going to be a little bit rough because we have some key players that are overseas right now participating in the Eurobasket competition for their countries. But Coach Nakase and the GM have been very adamant that they plan for this. I've already seen a lot of the signings, and they've already won a game without some of those key pieces against the Seattle Storm. So I think it's still very doable in this next little stretch. I think until the June 28th is when Eurobasket ends. And then in terms of big picture, I 100% see this is a playoff team. The only thing about the playoffs would be because we would most likely be one of those bottom playoff teams. If we get a matchup facing the Minnesota Lynx or the New York Liberty, I wouldn't like that too much.
Okay.
But honestly, if we get literally anyone else, I kind of don't hate our chances.
I don't, and again, they've got gritty players. It starts with our head coach to me. I could be wrong with that. You're the expert on the Valkyries, not me. I will trust your word far above my own. But Coach Nakase, she is marvelous. I need you to connect me with the Raymond Ritter of the Valkyries because I'm going to try to book her on this show. We have to. I have too much respect for her, and I want to pick her brain just to understand how she works a little better because brilliant job. Nothing but kudos and respect from this guy with 2 thumbs pointed his way right here. So bravo, Coach Nakase. Bravo to you, Sophia Jones. Great job covering the Valkyries as their color analyst, as you do every game. Those broadcasts are on the Odyssey app. They're also broadcast on 95.7 The Game. You and Kevin Dana post-game host a 30-minute post-game show recapping the action and everything else. Kudos to you. Anything we missed before we go? Anything you feel like I should have mentioned that I did not? I know we ran out of time for the fight clip. We'll save that for next week because there's no rush. There's a clip I'm going to play on this show. I was going to do it today, but we ran out of time. That kind of shows how crazy NBA teams and players are behind the scenes, but we'll save that for next week. Anything else we missed, though, Sophia, as we wrap it up?
Nope, I think we got it all.
Good stuff. All right. Well, again, if anything happens with the Warriors, we will go live immediately. One last thing before we go. This is actually very big and very important. Tomorrow, early afternoon, if you're a Golden Dazer, which means like you have a subscription to the show, I think it's $2.99 a month, and eventually I'm going to set it up where Golden Dazers can get a free subscription to the Substack as well. I bring that up because Tim Hardaway, the crossover king, he's coming on the show tomorrow, and I'm elated. He's a Warriors legend. He's a Hall of Famer. And if you're a Golden Dazer, you will have access to that episode before anyone else. The link to be a member is in the YouTube description if you're ever interested. To just add a little support to our program. But Tim Hardaway, he joins the show tomorrow. I'm ecstatic. The crossover king himself, one of the 3 prestigious members of Run TMC. Any questions that you think I should ask him, Sophia, before we wrap it up here or before we go here?
Yeah, I think it's just always interesting to get kind of like an older player's perspective on what they make of like the current landscape of the NBA. And I mean, I feel like the same applies to so many different leagues just because things are really different. So, yeah, just what does he really see stand out as the direction that the league is heading towards? And yeah, what kind of jumps off the page for him?
And if anyone has any questions they want me to ask him, just DM me either on Instagram. Maybe the most effective thing, I'll put a tweet out and a post on Threads today soliciting questions. So look out for that on social media. You can follow me on Threads and Instagram at Dog Wild, over on Twitter at Surf Journalist. I'll publish something that indicates that Hardaway's coming on the show tomorrow. And if you have a question for him, reply to that. I will do my best to answer it. Adam in the chat's asking, do you play basketball? Do you want to answer this? You want me to?
So I used to play, not anymore. I played at San Jose State University.
A D1 program. You were a point guard for the San Jose State Spartans. And again, you are currently the color analyst for the Golden State Valkyries on all of their broadcasts. I don't think they put you in that position if you did not know what you were talking about. So, you know, Sophia, thanks for answering that. Yeah, folks, in case you wonder, like, who is this person next to me? She knows her shit and then some. Brilliant basketball mind right there. And you can catch her for every Valkyries broadcast. I cannot thank you enough for joining me each week, Sophia. Thank you. And thank you to the audience. Are we good? Are we done?
I think we're good.
All right. I'm going to update the open and the close very soon. I promise to reflect V for Valkyries. We're going to add the quotation marks. Brilliant marketing on the team, on the team's part to just do the little quotation marks. The V's, baby. V for Valkyries. That's our program. Thank you, Sophia. Thank you to everyone. Back tomorrow. Tim Hardaway joins the program. Thanks, everybody. Bye.